Hey guys, today I thought I would talk a little bit about building software companies and like SaaS in particular, as it's like become a bit of a trend. I don't know if it's just because it's like the people watching my videos are interested in SaaS or anything like that, but often I get like messages from people saying that they want to start software as a service companies. And like I don't advise against it at all. Like I absolutely love it. But there's just like a couple of like things I wanted to put out there before you go and do it, like lessons that I've learnt from building like software companies, and yeah, just like hopefully I can just give you a little bit more insight before you go down like the software as a service route. So I'll start with like a couple of the positives. It's interesting, like the type of work that you do is really interesting, because you can be like really innovative, particularly in what we do. Obviously it's going to depend like what SaaS company you actually end up going for, but like you can always use like really modern technology, that's what I find anyway, and it's like quite cutting edge work, which is interesting. Like we're now exploring like machine learning and personalization, but I guess that doesn't actually apply to everyone with what they're doing. But I like it's one big like benefit for me. Sorry about the wind. Yeah, so it's interesting work. Like it's very very varied work. I think number two is the fact that it's a subscription business, which again is just great. Like in terms of having like a good work-life balance, you can just work really hard on a subscription business for like 3 months of the year and set up like automations to bring you clients in like year round, and then you know that you're getting like at least some fixed amount of money every single month, rather than like eCommerce. If I worked hard on it for like a month, I could turn over like $100,000, but then the next month I'm like basically back to zero, back to square one. So I have to start again with like the marketing again, depending how you're doing marketing. But in terms of like doing Google ads, that's really going to be the situation. And number three for me is actually like the people that you work with. Like you tend to get fairly clever people within SaaS, and like obviously I spend a lot of time working with developers, and like we have like a really good team, so I like that a lot, that it attracts like clever people within the industry, and people who can bring like their own unique approach to solving problems, which is really good. So they're like the three things that I like most about it. Also I guess like four, this just applies to me, but I'm very like quite nerdy on the inside and quite technical, so it's just interesting to work in software. But yeah, that doesn't apply to everyone. So, but going on to like the negatives, and I will be like completely honest about this, is number one, it is expensive. There's, unless you're like developing yourself, and you have marketing skills, like most people aren't good enough to perform both. Like I have like understanding of coding, but I'm nowhere near good enough to actually build something myself. So you're going to have to go, and most people are going to have to go and hire developers, and then you're going to have the added. You need to be technical enough to understand like what's going on and how everything like pieces together. Which like fortunately I do. I spent like 3 or 4 years in technical recruitment, so I understand like all of the different technologies. I understand what everything's doing, how everything comes together. Obviously if you've seen my Integromat flows, like you've seen me like putting API requests together and like putting together automation sequences, which means when I'm like talking to our developers, they appreciate a lot that I understand what I'm doing, as much as I'm not writing code myself. Like I can come up with ideas, but think about it from an engineer's standpoint of how they're actually going to go about building this, which I think is like a really big advantage. So yeah, I would say like it's going to be expensive. Like hiring developers, and the other thing that you'll find is it's like never ending. You know, when I first sort of started doing this, I was under the opinion that you can spend, I don't know, like $30,000, whatever amount of money it may be, that you can just spend this much money, sorry, and you'll have like a finished product, and it's the complete opposite, really. That does not apply at all. Like in development, you're going to have constant bugs, new feature requests, and it's just it's almost like a never-ending money grab. I don't think there's any way to build SaaS and never have to change anything. Like the other thing is we've been building this tool for like 2 years now. Notifier I'm talking about mainly, and now that we're sort of, in terms of like the feature set and everything like that, I'm about 80% of where I sort of want everything to be. But now that you get into that position, the technologies that we're using, like I wouldn't say they're out of date, like not on the back end anyway. Like we're using Node.js, which is absolutely fine, but on like the front end, we're built in Angular, and now like our developers are saying like, oh, let's think about switching over to like React or Vue.js or something like that, which technically means rebuilding the whole front end of our like application, which is another like, I don't know, it's going to be like a few months worth of work, and then like, you know, by the time that's done and we've built like out new features, it's going to be something else is out of date and needs to be like updated or like rebuilt. So it is just a if you want to get into SaaS, just be wary. It is like a never-ending expense. Like it really is. Like there's always like new bugs that are like coming up, and especially in SaaS, because you're dealing with like we're in like the website plugins business, and there are just so many different variables in terms of the platform that our clients can be using. So it is just like constantly fixing things. For as much as you do get a monthly recurring revenue, be prepared to reinvest a lot of that into fixing bugs, making improvements, and like essentially just paying your developers salaries. So yeah, SaaS is expensive. That's the first thing that I'd like to like people to understand. Number two is SaaS is becoming really overcrowded, and like I'm sort of seeing that already because like it is just becoming overcrowded. Like it seems to be a bit of like a trend now to have a software platform. Why that is, I'm not quite sure actually, because it's definitely not the easiest business. In fact, I think it's much harder to grow a SaaS company than e-commerce. But yeah, like it is just becoming overcrowded. Like there are very, very few SaaS tools where there's like one or two tools in the market, and even if there is now, the other thing I think you'll find is by the time you've built something, there will be other people who have built it as well. You know, that is really what happened with like Notifier, with my idea of bringing loads of like website plugins together into one platform. At the time, like no one else had really done that when I came up with the idea. By the time like we came onto market, there was about one or two other tools that had taken like the same approach. Whereas now it's like become like almost everyone's doing it. It's quite hard for a platform to survive as just offering like one website plugin now. So obviously everyone is going to like copy what you're doing. So just be completely prepared for that. Also, your competitors are most likely going to be quite like well funded, and they're going to be clever people in general. Like so, it's not like you're just taking on stupid competitors. There's one thing to be completely wary of, you know, especially if a lot of them are going to have like funding and things like that. So yeah, I mean, like I've just thought, just because I've just been noticing a trend that I'm getting a lot of messages on LinkedIn about people interested to start their own SaaS companies. Just be prepared. Like it's expensive. Really, you need to be quite technical. And in fact, as well, like that. Yeah, let me just add this as another point. It's not the easiest business to grow. In fact, it's a difficult business. So if it's like your first company, I personally wouldn't go with a SaaS company. When I first started in software, it was like my second or third business that I was doing. Prior to that, I was working. Like I had my own like Instagram agency that I was doing manually, and then I turned that into a software platform. And I think that was actually quite a smart way to do it. I didn't do that on purpose. It was just how things worked out. But like definitely like follow a route like that. If you've never run your own company before, software is not the easiest business to get started in. And as well, like the thing that reminded me of this is like a couple of months ago, like I joined as a co-founder of a company, and it was the founder's first time making a software platform, and he was like the CEO, and I agreed to take on like a 15% share, and there was another co-founder who was building the entire platform taking on 15%, and I just sort of realized very quickly that the founder wasn't technical enough to be like the CEO and didn't really understand everything that was happening. So if you are going to go down the software route, really you do need to be like either a developer, have an understanding of development and how everything comes together, or you should just go down like agency e-commerce route, and you're going to have a much easier time and a much higher chance of making money. SaaS is probably one of the hardest businesses to get into, depending on if you're doing B2B or B2C, but also yeah, like having experience in that specific area is quite important. Like I'd had previous experience selling like B2B products before, so I had an understanding of how that was done. But yeah, just like I could talk for so long about this, but just go into make sure that that you have some experience in whatever area you choose to do. And I wouldn't recommend SaaS as being your first company, because it is just so much more complex than like an agency or something like that, and you're going to need much more capital to actually make it work. There's a lot more like requirements to actually make a SaaS company successful. Technically anyone can do it. You know, you could go and hire a development team in India to put you together a software application for like $1,000, but like you're going to realize very quickly that it's going to be complete shit that they put together, to be completely honest. There are so many different areas of SaaS that you need an understanding in terms of like technically you do need an actual growth hacker to understand how to grow a SaaS business efficiently, because they need expertise in acquisition, getting traffic to the website, and getting people to sign up. Then you need like conversion rate optimization skill set as well to actually make it work. Activation, you need someone who's highly skilled in user onboarding and user experience. Revenue, you need to run like multiple revenue testing strategies, understand the market, and like all the different ways that you can technically monetize on customers or users, because there are some very creative ways to monetize, not just taking direct revenue. Retention, yeah, you need to have complete understanding of like building out flows to actually retain your subscriptions, and referrals, of course. So you actually, I mean, that's just like in terms of like the growth aspect. Then you need like a very diverse skill set in order to make a SaaS company successful, if you're going to be the founder, or you're going to need capital behind you to hire a team. So yeah, like I don't really want to like discourage people from doing SaaS. Like if you feel that you like tick these boxes, it's 100% like a great journey to go down. Building SaaS has been like the biggest learning experience, and it's where like, as much as I like taught myself, everything that I put out on these YouTube channels, like it's all come from the journey of building and growing like software as a service companies. So it's a great journey to go down, and you'll learn a hell of a lot of stuff for sure. Like 2 years ago, I thought that I was relatively good in marketing, and now to like look back then to see how far I've come, the things that I'm like piecing together, and the knowledge that I have, has been a really, really good experience. So I just want to be completely honest, so that you don't go and waste a load of money because SaaS is expensive. On a business that I originally thought was going to cost about $30,000, I've now invested like well over $100,000 in. Like, I've made returns on it, so it's not a bad thing. I'm just trying to say, like, in order to get what you want, it is going to be expensive to build a SaaS company. If you haven't built a business before, start on something else, e-commerce, make yourself an agency, work as a freelancer. It's going to be much easier, and you've got way less capital at risk. In fact, you can have zero capital at risk, so that's going to be much better, because with SaaS you are making an investment. And as well, just make sure that you have like at least some like technical knowledge and expertise in you don't have to be a developer, but understand like different technologies, like front end, back end, like what JSON is doing, understand like APIs, because then you can make much better suggestions and come up with much more better like features and ideas and how to approach things. And you can actually talk with your developers and understand what they're talking about. They're going to enjoy working with you a lot more. So yeah, that's my main advice. But definitely, if you feel that you tick those boxes, by all means, like, all of the skills can be learnt. Like on the job, I'm just saying it's going to be difficult to make it successful if you're trying to learn all of these skills at the same time. If you tick like quite a few of the boxes, like you can give it a go and try and make something successful. Like this year, most of my videos are going to be on like growing SaaS companies, so hopefully you can learn like quite a lot from my mistakes and like my successes as well, and things that I'm doing, and get some ideas and inspiration. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed like this landscape as well. This is Georgia. This is a hotel called Rooms Hotel, and it makes you feel a bit like a James Bond villain. But yeah, that's the landscape. Pleasant views. Anyway, yeah, that's everything from me. If you have like questions or anything, feel free to let me know. In total, I think I've had about eight or nine different SaaS companies. Like, I've never had a SaaS company not make revenue. It's just come to a point where I thought, in order for me to really like scale this up, I need to invest more money than I'm willing to. So it's only like Notifier and maybe 2 or 3 other companies that I've like really gone all out in and invested large amounts of money. But yeah, anyway, the sun's just come out. This is lovely. Awesome. Yeah, any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll be happy to answer any questions and give any advice and help out where I can. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.